This is UFO Girl, Angelia Shear, bringing you another exciting interview. UFOs, missing time, cryptids, and other high-strange events. These are real people and they're extraordinary encounters. Now sit back, buckle up, and get ready for today's case of interest. Hey everybody, UFO Girl here. Today I have a great video for you. I had this gentleman contact me after I did Coast to Coast, and this interview, these events that he had in the past, they are just the quintessential example of what I call high strange events. I mean, we have bright lights over the cars, we have entities showing up, we have ghostly phenomena, and even figures in robes, that kind of thing. So just sit back and I'm going to let you hear the actual interview recording. My witness Charles has agreed to that, and I just love the way he tells the story, so I think you'll enjoy it. So sit back and enjoy.
Well, it was the fall of '64, and I was going to graduate in '65. So they used to have, this was a long time ago, they used to have dances at a place in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. It was at the Hamburg Field House, which used to house Army people sometimes and other stuff. But it was on I took old Route 22 to go there, and it should have, from Kutztown, Pennsylvania to there, it should have only taken about 45 minutes at the most. And I left there about 8:15, and I didn't get there till 10:30. Now, during that trip, all I saw, didn't see any UFOs, didn't see any, all I saw was a flash in the sky, like a big star that maybe took a picture of you or something. Anyway, on the radio that I had on, stuff started coming on, and I thought it was just a made-up thing. It was from WLS in Chicago, and I thought, well, it's probably just an underground copy of some record. But they started giving death counts at different cities in the world, like we just had an atomic war. So I thought, geez, this is awful. Then all of a sudden, the car sort of looked like it turned into jelly. And this lasted about, I don't know, maybe what seemed like 5 minutes at the most. And then there was this, it was almost like two realities at the same time. It was really, really strange. I didn't lose my cool, and it felt like I was still driving, but I couldn't have been, because at the same time, I felt like I was pulling back onto the road. But I don't remember going off the road. This was still going on the radio. Then the radio stuff went back to sort of a normal kind of thing. And I'm back on the road, and I'm kicking the floorboard, stomping on the floorboard, saying, wondering if everything was still real or if it was all looking like jelly anymore. And things got sort of back to normal, and I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was waking up in the morning. That's all I can describe it as. Like I was waking up or something. That's what it felt like. And I looked at my watch, stopped at what looked like about 9:30 or so. Well, that didn't look right to me. But anyway, I got to Hamburg to the dance. I was going to meet some of my friends there early. Well, I never did that. I got there at 10:15 or so. Or maybe 10:30, somewhere in there. Anyway, I went to the dance, and they were there, and I had a pretty good time. And I got out, got back in my car, and went back home. And the next day, I'm looking at the car, and there were like shiny spots on the trunk and on the hood that shouldn't be there. They were, because I had painted that car, and I wasn't all that good at it, and I had some orange peel on it. Well, this sort of made the orange peel look shiny, which months were crazy because all sorts of stuff happened after that. For one thing, the first thing that happened is somebody showed up at my door. A friend of mine named Tony was there, and he stood about 6. Well, we were both pretty big. I was big for my height. He was big. And I went into the other room for a while, and I came back, and I said, hey, Tony, answer the door. I seen somebody walk in the wall. He answered the door, and he's backed up from it. I thought, what the hell is this? I went and I answered the door, and here was this little man. Bear in mind, this was like a hot day in July. This guy had clothes on. He had a neckerchief on. He had a hat pulled down pretty much to his ears. I didn't see any hair on him. And he had blue eyes. The whites of his eyes were light blue. Then the insides were darker and darker blue till you got to the thing, and almost blackish blue. And when he talked, his lips didn't move. I could hear him perfectly, but his lips didn't seem to move. And I didn't trust this, and Tony was backed off. Him being scared of something was unusual because he wasn't scared of much anything. Anyway, I'm talking to this guy, and for every first thing I said, I said, well, what's the problem? And he looked at me, and I said, okay, what's going on? And he said, it's my machine. In the Pennsylvania Dutch country, that means a car or a truck or something. I said, okay, well, what is it? Because I only had a 6-cylinder Chevy, and I didn't want to be trying to start a a big truck with that battery. So anyway, I thought, well, I'll see if I can trip this guy up. So I said, well, is it a truck? He said, no. I said, is it a car? He said, yeah. This went on with questions. I would ask him a question. It was always a second answer. Every time I asked him about 4 or 5 questions. It was always like, I would suggest something, and he would take the suggestion. I would say, well, is it this or that? And he'd always pick that.
Oh, I got you.
And then I said, okay. I said, all I got is a Chevy. I can't jump whatever you have there. He said, okay. And then I said, if you want to use my phone, you can, which he didn't answer. He didn't come in to use the phone. In those days, he didn't have cell phones or anything like that. So anyway, he walked out the walk, and we didn't watch but he was no longer there after a little bit of a while. So we went back in, and me and Tony tried to tell my uncle, who was working at Carpenter Steel at the time. He came home around 3 o'clock because he was working a day shift. And we were trying to tell him that. He thought we were both nuts and didn't pay any attention to it. So time went on, and things kept... I had dreams like you wouldn't believe. I won't go into them right now because there was too many of them, and they were just too strange to believe. It went sort of into almost a religious type thing one time, maybe twice. It went into things that I only remember halfways. But that whole incident changed me. I was different after that incident. I'm not sure if it was a they. I don't know whether they came from time or from another dimension. I'm starting to think the more I have studied this, and from that time on till now, I'm starting to think it was more dimensional than anything else. But there were 2 dimensions working at the same time. That is what I've thought of right now. But the thing is, they changed me in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. For one thing, I was a fat kid at that time. I found it in myself to lose weight, and then I went in the army. But anyway, in that 6 months period, all kinds of stuff was happening. Strange calls on the phone, almost ghost type stuff started happening. Kettles kitchen when nobody was there. I was pretty interested in everything then. I got interested in UFO books and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I was up at the diner, and a guy by the name of Richard Harpel, or at least that's what he called himself, who looked like a student that was going to Kutztown College, came in. We used to hang out, me and my friends and a bunch of other people used to hang out at the airport diner. Well, I was in there, and I'm having coffee. He comes in, and he sits one space aside of me, right, like one seat up. And he looked right at me, and he didn't know me at that time. And he said, have you ever, did you read, I think it was Edwards, the guy that wrote the book, Flying Saucers of Serious Business? And I said, no, not yet. And he said, well, read them, they are. And then he got up and left. And he just went out the door. And I saw him again in the week, and he was answering my questions with his mind. I mean, he could, I could sing a song in my head. I could think of a song, and I would hum it or sing it or whatever in my head. This guy knew what the hell I was singing.
Now, was this your friend, or was this other?
No, this was a stranger.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, this was a stranger. I didn't know him. He called himself Richard Harpel. Anyway, this guy kept showing up, and one day, the same kind of thing happened. He's answering things in my head. Nobody else seems to notice. I don't know why they didn't notice that. But they didn't seem to notice either that, or they didn't care, they didn't know what was going on. But he got in his car, went into a closet, and the whole thing disappeared. The car, him, all just disappeared before he even got on the road right. So all that stuff happened then. I think it was maybe going towards the end of the school year that time, and I was going to be graduating. But we were up at the diner, and some girl needed a ride home. Now, she was way out of my league, so I didn't try to do anything with her. But she needed a ride home. I said, okay, I'll take you home. I had a 51 Chevy at the time, and it was running pretty good. And so I left my friends off. Then I took her back to Lion Station, and on the way back to Lion Station, this time it was a bigger flash. This time the whole darn field, road and all, flashed. We seemed to go front, yet there was nothing in front of us. There was no other cars around. We went front, then back, and felt really weird. So I pulled into Redner's, which was a sort of a place where they used to have massive sales on the Saturday and Sunday. And it was like a farmer's market. And I went in there, and I said, are you all right? And she answered me in a different voice than she normally had. But she said, yeah, she was okay. I said, okay. And I got the car back on the road, and we went back to Lions, and I dropped her off, and then I went home. Well, by the time I got home, I had left to take her home around midnight. By the time I got home, it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. It shouldn't have been that late. I don't know what happened there, but then more weird stuff started happening until I was painting. Now, by this time, years had gone by, and all kinds of stories in between. But anyway, years had gone by, and it was, it was 1968, going into the January of 69. And I had decided to just leave Kutztown and get the heck out of there. And I went in the Army. So I had enlisted that. And I was waiting to go. But I had this, before that, like a month or two before I did that, I was working on a 55 Chevy out front. And you got to remember, this was the 60s. So I thought it would be really cool, because I was always in art. So it'd be really cool to paint this car several different colors. And it would be basically a hippie car that wasn't, and I wasn't a hippie, I was just me. But anyway, I painted this car all kinds of different colors, and I was out there painting on it, and the radio was talking to me. There was a voice in the radio that wasn't the radio. It was something else, I don't know what. But I was alone, so I didn't care. Nobody was watching me or anything. I didn't think anyway. And it said, well, and a lot of stuff had happened in between there with different stuff. And the voice said, can you handle it? And I said, yeah, I can handle it. And then after I was done, I packed everything up and went in to the house. And my mom, who she was not all that educated, and she really didn't have a heck of a lot of imagination. And she said, well, who are you talking to? I said, what do you mean? Who was I talking to? There was nobody out there. I was singing to the radio, which sounded like a good excuse to me, instead of talking to the radio, because that sounded really lame. But anyway, I said, I didn't see anybody out there, Mom. She said, yeah, there were some guys around you. They looked like they had robes on or something, like they were Catholics. And I said, no. I said, nobody was out there. And I just left it go at that. And I came in, and then about a month or two later, I signed up and went into the Army, went to Vietnam and all that stuff.